Hey everyone, happy 2024. My name is Sarah and I own Peppa Studios, which is an art and content business. And I want to use today's video as an opportunity to kind of reflect on my 2023 and then look forward at 2024 and lay out some goals for myself and for my business. Before I get too far into the video, I must warn you that my cats are sleeping right here. And let me show you. And this one, Alicia, breathes like Darth Vader. So, if you're hearing any funny sounds in the background, well, you know why. So almost exactly a year ago, I was sitting at my kitchen table and I was painting and I was thinking about the goals that I have for my brand new tiny art business in 2023. And I decided to turn on a camera and record it and just talk through those goals. That video is on my channel, you can watch it now. And in that, I wrote down several big picture goals that I have for 2023. And I have that piece of paper right here with me. And so that's where we're gonna start in today's videos. We're gonna go through these big picture goals I laid out for myself last year, talk about what progress I've made on those. After that, I'm then gonna talk about some of my overall wins and then opportunities for growth that came out of 2023 that don't necessarily fit within those goals that I initially laid out for myself. And then finally, we're gonna get looking forward at this coming year to identify my new goals and where I want my business to go from here. Okay, so the first thing that I wrote down on this list was to develop my surface pattern design signature style. So about a year ago, I had barely just come into the world of surface pattern design. I made my very first repeating pattern in December of 2022. So I was about 1 month into creating patterns. I was definitely still learning a ton about the actual technical process of doing it. But on top of that, I also just didn't have a great sense of what I wanted my artwork to look like in that form. So that's why that was one of my goals for 2023. And I would say I am on my way to achieving that goal. I definitely still feel like this is a work in progress, like this is something I'm still developing. But that said, there was definitely a big breakthrough in my process through the spring and the summer of 2023. And I've talked about this in a lot of videos, so if you've seen other videos of mine, you'll have heard this story before. But things changed a lot when I decided to use Photoshop to create my patterns. I hand paint pretty much all of my artwork using watercolor or gouache, and when I was bringing it into Adobe Illustrator, which is what I was initially using, I just always felt like the vectorizing process took away that hand-painted look that I was really going for in my artwork. I was really struggling to kind of translate the vision I had in my head for my patterns into a real pattern when I was vectorizing them using Illustrator. So when I started using Photoshop, things changed a lot. I started to like my patterns a lot more, and I have really started to hone in my own process for building patterns in Photoshop. So all that said, I definitely still feel like I'm not fully there, and I don't know that folks ever feel like they're 100% there, but I would put myself in the like 70 to 80% mark if there was some spectrum of no signature style all the way to like super solid, recognizable, perfect signature style. Yeah, maybe I'm at like 70%. So I'd say I did a pretty good job on this very first goal. Okay, the second goal that I had written down was to create 5 collections. So this came from the fact that I did a lot of my learning through Bonnie Christine, who is a fabric designer. In the fabric world, you often will pitch your artwork in collections of 8 to 12 patterns. So I had this idea that I needed to create all of these different collections, and I still do feel that way. Like I still feel like there's a lot of value in creating collections, and I have actually created several collections at this stage of the game, so I'll show you what I've done so far. I think my very first like cohesive collection that I did, it's this yellow collection that I made. It started with these kind of goofy banana paintings that I did when I was painting with my left hand, my non-dominant hand, just for fun, and then I created all kinds of coordinating patterns to go with it. So that was kind of fun. I like the way that this one looks. And then I have several kind of half attempts at collections in various stages of completion. For example, over the summer, I was painting a lot of fruit, and so I made all these orange patterns that folks seem to like a lot, but I also made some strawberries, lemons, maybe other fruits that I'm forgetting. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a cohesive collection. It's just things I was painting around the same time. And I don't love the way the final patterns look for all of them, so it was kind of an experimental situation. At the start of the fall, I painted this whole fall collection, but I haven't actually digitized that stuff yet and I haven't actually turned it into repeating patterns, so that I get like a quarter point for it. But the idea is there. I do still think it'll make a cohesive, nice collection once I do pull it together digitally in Photoshop. Similar story with this ocean collection I made. Some of these patterns I have built out in Photoshop and some of them not quite yet, but these are all, again, hand-painted ocean-themed elements and motifs that I'm turning into a pattern collection, so I guess kind of getting there with that one. But beyond that, I just have several miscellaneous patterns that don't necessarily fit into a collection, but I think they've been really important for me in kind of helping me develop that signature style and gain more confidence in my own painting and ability to actually build these patterns in Photoshop, and also just recognize the elements that I really like when I paint them, and I like the way they look in a pattern, and things that I don't like, and just kind of developing that pattern making muscle, even if they don't fit nicely and neatly into a pattern collection. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the progress that I made on this goal. I definitely wouldn't say that I like smashed it out of the park by like designing 5 perfectly cohesive collections, but I do think I made some good progress. And stay tuned for my 2024 goals because I kind of have a little bit more to say on this front. There's one other big goal on this 2023 goals sheet that I wrote for myself that I broke into 3 subpoints. So big picture, the goal was to start treating my business like a business. And so I gave myself 3 subpoints under there, which was to develop my brand, to open my website, and to start my email list. So as far as developing my brand goes, I will say yes, I have done a good job and made some good headway on this. Again, I wouldn't say I'm 100% there, but I did a few big things that have helped me a ton on this front. So firstly, I hired a brand designer to help me out with the big things like my logo, my brand colors, some brand images, and things like that to help me get the general vibe of my brand. This is still something I'm working on kind of integrating throughout my social media, for example, and like really tying that brand design with the actual brand itself. But this was a massive help for me because when I sat down to start Peppo Studios a little over a year ago, I was like, yeah, I could probably come up with some kind of logo. And turns out logo design is really hard, and picking out my colors and things like that, it was all really difficult for me. So to have someone who's actually really good at this help me out with that, I really appreciated that. So that was a huge milestone for me. I also scheduled a brand photo shoot this past summer, and I was able to get several really great photos from a friend of a friend who was actually just starting out her own photography business. So it was really cool to be able to support her brand new creative business while getting these awesome assets for my own creative business. And I love the way those photos turned out. And again, that really helped me develop kind of my brand. And I can use these photos all throughout my social media and my websites and all kinds of things. Okay, one other thing that I did that was huge for developing my brand is that I joined a business coaching program called Wandering Aimfully. I've talked about it in a few videos, but it's been a really, really helpful way for me as someone without a background in business to start to think through all of the businessy things that are really crucial to entrepreneurship and building a creative art and content business online. So things like brand foundation and really starting to define who my audience is, who I want to be talking to, narrowing down eventually what my offers would be, how my business would make money, and all of these things. So I think a lot of this does fit into the brand, and obviously it branches out beyond the brand part of the business as well. But this was a great investment, and it's been super, super helpful for doing some of that strategy side of developing my business and treating it like a business. So that next sub point was to open my website, and I think this is my biggest fail from all my 2023 goals. Like, here's the deal with my website. Okay, I have had a Squarespace website for basically a year. I think I got it in February of 2023. And the website, I built it pretty quickly. Like, it took me not very long to put all of the pages together, and it's basically there. Like, I will show you on this video just a quick tour of what my website looks like at this stage of the game. But it's not live because I have been dragging my feet for months and months and months about the portfolio part of my website. As a surface pattern designer, I really wanted my website to be a home base for my portfolio where anyone could go and kind of click through some of the patterns that I've made and some of the website illustrations and use it as a hub for potential licensing and client work. And I've spent a lot of 2023, like I said, honing in my signature style and developing my pattern building skills. And because of that, I never really settled on a portfolio that I love. And so I've just been sitting on this website waiting until I develop some kind of portfolio that I think is good enough and representative of the artwork I actually want to be creating. So I think I kind of failed on this goal because even though the website is built, it's not live. But one thing I do want to mention is that I'll give myself kind of half credit for this one as well, because even though my main peppostudios.com isn't open yet, I did actually open another website, which is peppostudios.tmail.com. And this is my website where I'm selling my art prints of some of the food illustrations that I've done. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in my 2023 wins section, but feel free to check out that website if you want. And that really functions kind of like my Squarespace website would as well, where I have a whole home page and about page and then my shop page. And so it really does have kind of the core components of a website. So in some senses, I did open a website. It just wasn't the original one that I was planning on opening up. Okay, the last bullet under that broader goal was to start my email list. This is one that I would also give myself like a partial credit on because I did actually create an email list and I've been kind of passively collecting emails through my YouTube videos mostly. I developed a couple freebies, basically free downloads that you can download by entering your email address. So that was my watercolor paper textures that you can use in your patterns on Photoshop, and it was also this Notion template that I created for developing and tracking your business's financial goals. So I have been able to collect a good number of email addresses, which for me, that's around like, I think 50 right now. So it's not something that I've been pushing really hard. So for being able to just kind of passively collect those, I'm pretty happy with that. But I didn't actually start my email newsletter. I haven't actually sent any emails to that list yet. So again, partial credit because it's started, but I haven't actually done anything with that list. So overall, I think I did pretty well on those 2023 creative business goals that I set out for myself. The thing is, I think those goals are all kind of broadly business related. And looking forward, I think that it's maybe more helpful to make this a little bit more granular. And I think one way that I can do this is to break it up by art goals and content goals, and probably at some point some more business goals, as well as life goals. Because I think all of these things are really interrelated and they're all really important to talk about and things that I want to share about too. So that brings us to the next section where I'm going to talk about some of my 2023 wins that didn't necessarily fit in these goals I had laid out for myself, as well as some of the growth opportunities that I identified where things maybe didn't go as well as they could have, and my thoughts on how I could do things differently. And so for this section, I am going to break it up into those three segments that I kind of talked about before. So art, content, and life. Okay, starting with my art wins. So some of the successes I had in my art world, starting with I opened a Spoonflower shop. So if you're not familiar with Spoonflower, it's basically an online marketplace where independent artists like myself are able to open shops and upload their own repeating patterns, their own designs that can be sold on things like fabric and wallpaper and home goods. So at this stage of the game, I think I only have like 29 patterns uploaded on Spoonflower. So not a ton, but I have started to make some sales on these patterns, which is really exciting. I haven't focused a lot of energy on Spoonflower, but it's still been fun to see what has been resonating with people. And it's really amazing to see that there are random people out there who are buying my designs. And it's just kind of wild to think that my artwork is being used by somebody else out there in the world. So it's super, super fun. I have a link to my Spoonflower shop in my description of every single video, so feel free to check it out at any time. You can find me on there at Peppo Studios, just like you can anywhere else. So another big win for me in kind of the art realm of things is that I unexpectedly, I would say, fell into this world of food illustration. And it's funny that I say unexpectedly, because if you go back to that very first 2023 goals video I was talking about earlier, I was actually painting some pastries in that video. And it's actually funny because last January I did several pastry and bread illustrations, but then I kind of shelved it because I didn't think that those would work well for repeating patterns, and I really wanted to focus on my repeating pattern thing. So I really didn't do any food illustration for a lot of 2023. But as we got into the fall, I felt inspired to break out those illustrations again, and I started painting some baked goods just for fun because it's something I really like to do. And one of those things that I painted, one of the very first ones I painted in the fall, was actually some pink buns, which is a classic treat in New Zealand, I've come to learn, using a recipe by Cloudy Kitchen. So Cloudy Kitchen is run by a woman named Erin. She's really awesome and I've followed her for years. Honestly, every recipe I've ever made by Erin/Cloudy Kitchen is amazing because she does really thorough recipe testing and stuff. So anyway, side note, you should make Cloudy Kitchen recipes if you haven't before. But I had seen her share several times these pink buns that she had made, and I never had them before, but every time she shared them I was like, wow, these are so cute. I love the way they look. I felt so drawn to paint them. So I did. I painted her pink buns and I shared it on Instagram, and she saw my Instagram story and she ended up sharing it on her page, and a bunch of people came over from Erin. So if you're watching this video and you came over from Cloudy Kitchen, hello, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. But one of the really awesome things that came out of this project was that Erin reached out to me after I painted the original pink buns, and she asked me if I would actually design a pink bun wallpaper for her, which is crazy. That was my first like commissioned design work that I had ever done. But she knew that I did repeating patterns, including things that could be used for wallpaper, and she's in the process of redesigning her kitchen, and there's like a side bathroom that's off to the side. So it's a really small room, and she's like, how cute would it be to have pink bun wallpaper in there? And I was like, I mean, yes, that would be amazing. So that's something that I was fortunate enough to be able to do. I can actually show you a sample of that pink bun wallpaper. This is not the final one. This is a slightly smaller scale than we ended up going for, but isn't this cute? It's kind of fun. Like, listen, I know it's a lot, right? I know you probably wouldn't want to wallpaper your entire like living room with this, unless you would, in which case I fully respect it. That's amazing. But as a kind of bathroom wallpaper, I just can't wait to see how it looks. So that was an amazing project to work on, and it's inspired me to do more food illustration stuff. So I'm really, really excited about that. Also, if you're interested in looking at my pink bun wallpaper, you can also buy it on Spoonflower for fabric or, like I said, home decor. So take a look in my Spoonflower shop and see if that's something that you would like. Someone mentioned pink bun pajamas, like flannel pajamas. I love that idea. That would be so fun. And if you want to see it in different scales than what I have in my Spoonflower shop, just let me know. I'm happy to rescale for like itty bitty pink buns for your little flannel pajamas or whatever. So anyway, such a fun project. What a win. I did not see that coming at all in my 2023 goals, but I think it's opened up a lot of additional opportunities for me that I did not even know existed before. Okay, broadly, I think just one other art win that I would put in this category is that I've been experimenting a lot more with different mediums and art styles and just playing around with things as I've figured out my own signature style and just continued to develop my own artistic voice. Namely, I've been painting a lot using acrylic gouache, which is, if watercolor is ever here and gouache is here and acrylic is here, acrylic gouache is somewhere over here between acrylic and gouache. It's been a really fun medium for me to play with, and it's a totally different way of painting than what I'm used to with watercolor, so I've been enjoying that a lot. And even just today, I bought some additional art supplies I've never played with before, like Copic markers and oil pastels, so I'm super excited to just continue kind of experimenting. And I would say that that's a win that I had in 2023 in terms of developing my own signature style. Okay, now thinking about some of the growth opportunities in the art realm for 2023, areas where I maybe could have improved. One being that I didn't finish my portfolio, and because of that, I still haven't pitched my artwork to any companies. So I'll talk about this a little bit more when I go through my 2024 goals, but I'd say that's a bit of a failure because I've been dragging my feet a little bit with this and making it more complicated, I think, than it has to be. So yeah, that's something I'm going to keep working on in 2024. Like I said, I still haven't 100% nailed down my signature style, and that's something I'm definitely still working on. So I for sure put this in this category of opportunities for growth, looking forward to 2024. And this is partially related to my last point, which is that I went through phases in 2023 where I was really, really good about regularly creating artwork. And then I went through dry spells where I kind of didn't do anything for a while. Some of this is circumstantial, just based on my own life stuff outside of what I do for Peppo Studios. So if I was traveling for work, work or for personal stuff, I found it a little bit difficult to be regularly creating this artwork. But I think these dry spells can be really detrimental, you know, because you can get really in your head, and then when you are faced with that blank page again, it can feel really overwhelming. So I think that's one of the opportunities for growth here, is maintaining a regular creative practice, even if it means a 5-minute sketch. And even if it's a horrible sketch that I don't like at all, I think maintaining that muscle and not being so afraid of that white page is going to be a big win going forward. Okay, moving on to the next section, which is content. I'm going to start by talking about some of my successes, some of my wins in that realm from 2023 that weren't on my initial goals sheet. So one big one is that I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So yay, that's so exciting. If you didn't know, that's one of the requirements for monetization on YouTube. And beyond that, it's just kind of wild to me. I know it's kind of an arbitrary number, but still, it is wild to me that there are over 1,000 of you who have decided to follow my journey, to stick with me and hear what I have to say. And those of you who take the time to comment and send me DMs on Instagram have been so kind to me and so thoughtful. So anyway, thank you for being here, truly, and I'm just so excited to have you all here. So yay, what a fun milestone. I think even more importantly than that subscriber number though, is that between both here on YouTube and also over on my Instagram account, the community that has been growing around this Peppo Studios has been so kind and just wonderful. So I'm super proud of that and super excited that the people who are sticking around and who are taking their time to reach out to me are good people. If you're here, you're watching this, you're one of those people, you know, thank you for being here again. And this is like a top priority for me as I continue to grow and develop this business and this channel, is to maintain this space as a supportive space, a comfortable space, a place where people are able to learn from each other, because I've been able to learn so much from so many of you. I know many folks have told me that they've been able to learn some stuff from the things that I've shared online, and one of my core values here is transparency and like anti-gatekeeping, right? So anyway, I just really value you all for being here and for being wonderful human beings. I think another content win for me in 2023 is that I started to take YouTube a bit more seriously. So I upgraded some of my gear, I got a new camera, I upgraded my editing software, I got an external solid state drive, and I've generally just been developing my skills through practice and developing systems to track the progress of my videos through the whole production process on Notion. And I've started to see the benefits of that. When I rewatch my own videos, I can see how the quality is increasing. And beyond that, I'm just having fun making them. You know, I love making videos. I've always loved making videos for my whole life. So every time I can figure out ways to make better videos, it's something that just gets me really excited. So that's a big win, I would say, for 2023, is that I started to take it a little bit more seriously and invested a bit in my equipment and skills, and then just the time for practicing. In terms of areas where I see room for growth in the realm of content, I think the number one thing is probably no surprise to anyone, but it's just that I'm not super consistent with my content. My dream, my goal would be to have systems that allow me to post weekly videos on YouTube. I really value other YouTubers who I watch every week, and I know every Sunday morning they're gonna upload this video or whatever, and they stick to that. And I really want to be able to do something like that for myself. I think it's a challenge when I'm trying to balance my full-time job, and when anything out of the ordinary comes up, it's a little bit difficult to get these videos out. And the reality is it just takes a long time to make these videos. The time it takes to plan them and film them is honestly only like 10% of the whole process, because then editing and uploading and exporting and all of that stuff, that takes a long time. So I'm trying to figure out systems that will help me do this more efficiently and more consistently. So I would say that's an opportunity for growth that I'm working on. Okay, my last, I would say, growth opportunity for the content realm is that, again, I didn't actually start my email newsletter, even though I was collecting those emails. I definitely know that email marketing, yes, even in 2024, is one of the most important things that you can do as a small business, or a large business for that matter. And so it's definitely something that I want to be prioritizing, and it's just kind of not really a fail, but you know, an opportunity for growth that I didn't really start it in 2023. So more on that when we talk about my 2024 goals. Okay, the last little subsection here has to do with my life. So I think the main success I would want to talk about in terms of my life things that don't really fit into the art and content and businessy stuff is that even though I've been kind of crazy busy and it's been a little bit tricky to balance all of the work stuff and the Peppo Studios stuff, I think something I've done a really good job of is actually getting really on top of my own personal finances. Sorry, by the way, if you can hear my radiator in the back. It's January, it's cold, this is what happens. Hopefully it goes without saying that it's just generally a good idea to be on top of your personal finances, look ahead at your future, and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. But I think something that's really helped me kind of get into gear is this idea that eventually what I want to do is I want to take this Peppo Studios, this little business that I'm building, and I want to turn it into my full-time thing. And looking ahead at that possibility, I'm not going to say possibility, at that reality, I know that there's going to be slow times and maybe busier times. There's going to be unpredictability in revenue, and it's going to take a while to build regular, predictable income. And because of that, I want to make sure that I'm financially setting myself up for success. And so I've started to take it really, really seriously in 2023. And I think I've done a good job doing that. So I love to talk about finances. This is something that kind of lights me up inside, and I've been doing a massive deep dive in personal finances and stuff. So if this is a topic that you would be interested in hearing me talk about in terms of like how I'm preparing to transition into full-time work as a creative art business owner, or maybe my personal finances more broadly, just let me know if that's something that you are interested in hearing me talk about, and I can potentially add that to my list of video ideas. Okay, and finally, looking at the opportunities for growth in the life side of things. I mean, I've said this before. If you follow me on my Instagram stories, you'll know I say this all the time, but it's really hard to balance a full-time job with building a business from nothing, including making regular YouTube videos, along with all of the other life things, like maintaining healthy relationships with my partner and my family and my friends, and taking care of my cats, and making sure I'm taking care of myself, and all of these things. It's a lot to balance, and I don't always do a great job of balancing it all. There were several times in 2023 where I hit these mountains of overwhelm, and it all just became a lot. So something that I've talked about before, and that is my like mantra right now, is a quote from Caroline Zook, one of my favorite online business people, where she said, sometimes when you're in this phase where you're kind of transitioning from corporate work to working for yourself, there's this phase in the middle that she calls short-term squeeze or long-term ease. And that's really where I feel like I'm in right now. It's hard. You've got your foot in two worlds right now, and you're trying to build this thing from the ground up while also working a full-time job, building up your financial security, all of these things. And it's hard. It's a lot. So this is my mantra: short-term squeeze for long-term ease. I'm looking ahead for this long-term ease. It will come eventually. But yeah, definitely a growth opportunity for me is to find better ways to balance this whole thing between my corporate work, my Peppo Studios work, and the rest of my life stuff. Okay, so those were all of my 2023 reflections, and with that I want to move into the goals that I've set out for myself in 2024. And again, I'm going to divide these into those three broader categories of art, content, and life. So I'm going to relate a lot of these back to the revenue goals that I laid out in a video that I put out a couple months ago, where I lay out my plan to replace my current full-time income with my art and content business. And so I'm looking forward at kind of what I laid out in terms of revenue goals for 2024, and I'm building my 2024 more kind of concrete goals around those. So starting with art again, my number one goal is to just finish my portfolio and start actually pitching to companies. And so I'm giving myself this goal of finishing it up in Q1 of 2024. And as a part of this, it is my goal to create a few cohesive collections. I do want to tie up the ones I've already made and make a couple more. I'm actually thinking of doing this as part of my YouTube videos over the next month or two, because that way I can create my YouTube content as I want to, but also be creating this artwork that I really need for this portfolio before I can start pitching. Once my portfolio is ready, my goal is to pitch it to 10 companies in the first half of 2024. And hopefully by the end of 2024, we're gonna be closer to 50 companies, if not more than that. So I'm really, really, really excited about this, and a bit nervous because obviously I've been dragging my feet about this a lot. I have been collecting companies that I want to pitch to over the last year or so, so I do have a pretty big list at this point, and I may start with paper goods when I get started, because that's always what I've kind of envisioned my artwork going on, being hand painted and that very kind of hand drawn look. I think it would look really nice on things like gift wrap, wallpaper, stationery, things of that nature. But definitely if you have ideas for products that you'd love to see my artwork on, or if there are any companies that you think would be a great fit for my artwork, I'll definitely add it to my list. Another big area of my revenue goals for 2024 sit in the realm of commissions. And so I do have a goal of bringing in regular commissions. Of course, prior to the holidays, it's pretty common for me to get a lot of requests for things like pet portraits, for example. And I still plan to continue to do some pet portraits, but as I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm actually really excited as well about food illustration and the potential to also do commissioned food illustration. So I'm kind of want to work my way in that direction too and see if there are opportunities for me to do commission work in that realm. Okay, and this goal is definitely less concrete, but I generally would like to continue to play with new mediums as I continue to develop my signature style, both in the surface pattern design realm and also illustration, and I want that consistency across all of my pieces. So I'm still working to find color palettes that I really love and techniques that I really love, and so I'm just going to continue developing that and practicing. All right, moving on to my content goals for 2024. My first goal here is to get monetized on YouTube. I'm actually really excited to report that I'm pretty close to this. So to be monetized, you need 1,000 subscribers, and I am there. So again, thank you for being here. And then I also need 4,000 watch hours. So that means a collective 4,000 hours that people have watched my videos. I'm getting really close to that, and I'm probably on track to hit that in Q1 of 2024 if I can continue to put videos out there relatively regularly, hopefully every week. So that's super exciting. Now, the reality is that at the size that my channel is, being monetized is not going to instantly mean that I am able to quit my job and do YouTube full time. Realistically, being monetized at my size will mean I'll be getting like $10 a month from YouTube AdSense or something like that, you know? I'll definitely bring you along for the ride, and I'll be really transparent with you about how much money I'm able to get from YouTube. But even the idea of getting $10 a month for these videos that I've been making for free for years is really exciting to me. So I think that that's a really fun goal and something I am hopefully on track to achieving. So another content goal that I have for 2024 is to maybe potentially work with my first YouTube sponsor, which is crazy to think about, but it's something I'm really excited about as well. And a promise that I will make to you here as someone who is new on YouTube, who is really small, who hasn't worked with any sponsors yet, is that I really am being sincere when I say that I will not work with any sponsors that I don't actually believe in, that I don't actually care about or use or would recommend. I'm not interested in accepting sponsorships just to make money. I'm only interested in accepting sponsorships that I think are actually valuable to other people and that align with my values. So me personally, I care about sustainability and minimizing waste and minimizing the negative impact that we have on this planet. So I'm not going to be working with any companies that I think are being hyper wasteful or damaging to the earth, for example. I'm not going to do that. But broadly, I want to make sure that I continue to be a person that you all can trust. And so that's my promise to you, is that I'm only going to be working with brands when that time comes that I actually believe in, that I actually care about, that I actually use and recommend. I hope you can see that I am being genuine here. And that is actually something that's going to be like a core tenet of my business on YouTube going forward. But I'm really excited about the possibility to potentially work with brands going forward. So we'll see what that looks like as my channel continues to grow. Okay, another content goal that is really exciting and also very daunting to me is that I really do want to start my email newsletter in 2024. And I have been sitting on this great idea, I think it's a great idea, for a while, and I would love to hear your thoughts and see if this is something that you are as excited about as I am. So those of you who have been watching my videos for a while, or maybe have gone through all of my Peppo Studios videos, know that I used to do these pretty regular videos called Big Goals, Little Steps, where I walked through the goals that I had for my business. And so basically the format would be, I go through the goals that I set out for myself 2 weeks prior, talk about what I kind of did to work towards those goals, and then I set out goals for the following 2 weeks. And it was this regular cycle where folks could kind of follow me as I built my business and did all these little things like picking an email service provider and setting up a business bank account and all of that stuff. I love being transparent in that way. I just couldn't find a space for those videos in all these new YouTube videos that I'm making. So here's the idea with the email newsletter. I would create a weekly newsletter, and in that newsletter, I would have this unedited, just kind of rambly video where I basically go through that. So I would talk through the goals that I had laid out for that month and the progress that I made on those, and then I would lay out goals for the next month. And so this would be really good for folks who are interested in the behind the scenes look at actually building the business and just hearing what it's been like for me. It's really helpful for me to do things like this to keep myself on track, because when I'm like, oh, I need to record this video and I haven't done this one goal yet, I'm like, all right, I guess I have to do that goal. So it's helpful for me, but I've had many folks reach out to me before to say that it's helpful to you as well to just kind of hear how I'm doing things on my end. So that's one part of this newsletter, would be a monthly segment of just me kind of rambling about the businessy things that I'm working on. And then as part of that, I also want my newsletter to contain some kind of breakdown of how I'm spending my time every month. So this may come from the fact that I work in consulting now, so my whole world revolves around billable hours. I track my time like a lot at my day job, but I've seen some other creative businesses do this before, where you kind of break down how you're spending your time, how much of your time would go towards creating art versus creating content, or doing other business admin things and stuff like that. And it'd be a helpful way for me to be able to see, am I wasting time doing things? Like, am I not being as effective with my time as I could be? So that's kind of the vision, is that this newsletter at this stage right now would be a look kind of behind the scenes at building a creative business. Like I said, it would go out once per month, and I'm really scared saying this right now because I'm like, can I do this? But it's January now, it's early January now, and maybe I can set myself the goal of doing the first edition of this at the end of January. I'm a bit nervous saying that, but in the description below, I'm gonna put a link to join my email newsletter. So if you would like to join and see if I can pull this off, I definitely encourage you to do so. I promise you again that I'm not gonna spam you on your email. I'm not gonna be the kind of person to send you like 40 emails in a week, because again, I couldn't even send one in a year. So no spam is coming from me. Hopefully these kind of insightful behind the scenes look at building a creative business. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a link in the description. Feel free to join me and cheer me on, and hopefully this will be a good motivation for me to actually do it. Okay, the last content goal is to just bite the bullet and open my website. I've been sitting on this website, this Squarespace website, for, like I said, almost a year, and I think I just need to open it. I think what I need to do is, in my portfolio section, just say coming soon or something. I don't know. It definitely needs to be open by the time I'm pitching to companies though. So yeah, this is a big content goal of mine for 2024. All right, I know this is a long video at this point, so thank you for sticking with me. We are in the very final stretch now, which is my 2024 goals for my life broadly. So things that kind of fall outside of the business realm, the art and the content realm. My big goal in my life in 2024 is to move. So that's very exciting. It's funny putting it as a goal because it's definitely going to happen. Whether I say it in this video or not, I am definitely moving. We are not re-signing this lease at this apartment, so I am moving. That's gonna happen sometime late spring, early summer 2024. I'm really curious to see how that pans out. I don't even know where I'm going to be moving at this point, but I guess one goal that I do have related to this is wherever we go next, I would really love to have a spare room that I could set up as like my art studio and YouTube studio. Many of you know that I paint in my kitchen right now, so my kitchen table is my art studio currently, and it would be so nice to have a setup in a separate dedicated room. So I'm really excited about that possibility, and that would be an awesome goal to achieve in my life. One last thing I definitely need to mention, because I've mentioned it in a few videos before, is that I have talked about the potential or the goal of quitting my full-time job in 2024 and going full-time with my creative business. It's a little bit scary to say that now that it is 2024, and to be honest, I don't want to minimize myself and my goals, but this is a TBD for me where I am in my headspace at this point, because as I mentioned before, I'm really prioritizing my financial well-being and my financial security, and I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success and I'm putting myself in a position where I'll be okay, even if at the beginning cash flow isn't predictable or revenue comes and goes, you know? So we'll just have to see. I don't really know how this is going to pan out quite yet, but something I'm keeping in mind, and something that people even in my workplace have told me a few times before, is that the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. So that is definitely in the back of my head too, of like, I don't just want to stay stay because of this false sense of security. I need to keep front of mind the excitement that I get when I think about a life where I have 100% freedom over my time and where I get to spend my days doing creative things that I want to be doing and that I choose to be doing. That's such a powerful motivator. And so I can't forget that. I can't be wooed by the security of a bi-weekly paycheck to a point where I'll forget that, you know? But I do just want to say that it's a tentative goal for 2024. I don't really know how it'll pan out quite yet, so stay tuned. Okay, so I know that was a really big video. Thank you for sticking with me through this whole thing. And the last thing I want to say just before I sign off is that I know that things evolve. And when you don't achieve the goals that you set out for yourself, it does not mean that you're a failure, and it does not mean that you lost any kind of worth. It probably means that other opportunities came into your life that you didn't anticipate, or things happened in a different way than you thought that they might. To me, I think keeping things flexible is the name of the game. I am welcoming those opportunities that I don't know exist quite yet. But having actual targets out in the future that I can look at gives me kind of a honing point when I'm sitting down at my desk every day and figuring out what I'm going to do. At least I have something way out in the future that I can look at and kind of calibrate everything that I'm doing to be working towards that point. You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much for being here. And if you made it this far in the video, I really, really, truly do appreciate you immensely. And thank you so much. You really are helping me work towards these big goals that I have. I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a like, because it really actually does help other people find these videos that I'm making and helps me get one step closer toward the goals that I've set out for myself. And I would also love to hear from you. I would love to hear one win that you had in 2023 and one goal that you've set out for yourself in 2024. So if you enjoyed this video, you may also find value from this video that I mentioned a little bit earlier about how I plan to turn my art and content business into a full-time thing that can replace my current full-time salary. So with that, thank you very much for being here, and I will see you very soon for my next video. Bye everyone.